Welcome to Paranormal Connections, where paranormal experiences coincide with everyday life, with your host, Christina George, only on GTMWickedRadio.com.
Good evening, everybody. This is Christina George, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal Connections. And as everybody knows, usually on Paranormal Connections, because of the multiple radio shows that I do have on different topics, that on this show, we do a lot of talking about, hauntings, spirits, all of that kind of stuff, but also the connection between a lot of different phenomena. And tonight is no different. Tonight, my guest is Paul Wesley, and he's also known as Princetruthchaser on YouTube. And Paul's from Philadelphia, and he's an activist, a universalist, a UFO abductee survivor, and a love vibrational teacher. And we're going to go over all of that, but Paul has a very interesting story, where he started out seeing shadow figures and things like that, and then it is, as he's got older, he's going to tell us about, his abductions and the different things. And, one thing Paul was saying before we went on air is that, he really wants to go on shows, where people will call in and they will ask him questions or even question him. If he thinks, if people think that his story is just too out there, which I believe for my listeners, nobody will believe that because, the majority of, my worldwide audience is following me because of the fact that they have these similar experiences. So, if you're somebody new and you're tuning in for the first time, and I find that a lot of people in the paranormal tend to have a disbelief of the whole aliens and, UFOs and things like that. And people who believe in the UFOs, they don't believe in, ghosts and all that kind of stuff. And as I always say, and then the people who, believe in Bigfoot, they don't believe any of the other stuff, and nor do the other fields believe in Bigfoot. So, fortunately, I am an investigator and a researcher that, back in the day when I really started first researching paranormal was all of the above. It was all of these fields. It was anything that was not normal to society. So I've always looked at it that way. And now, after 11 years of interviewing, over 1,000 people, I have seen more and more of people who are experiencing paranormal activity, and many people who are, reporting either being contactees or abductees, that they are sharing very similar stories of certain things like shadow figures, sleep paralysis, seeing beings, all different things. So tonight it's going to be, an opportunity. I invite people to come in. A lot of times people just like to sit and listen to this, the stories. We get a lot of questions on chat and through Blog Talk. But I invite you tonight to, call in and, ask these questions. And if, there's something that, you having a hard time, swallowing about what's being said or something like that, call us. This is exactly what this is about, an opportunity and kind of a platform for people to share their stories, experiences, and, I don't let anybody get berated or anything on our show. That's not what this is about. I always try to end on a positive note, but it is a place where people can have debates on the way they think, because many people, think the way they do based off of religion or how they were brought up in their household, things like that. And really, until people start having their own personal experiences, it starts to make them question. Because if we're told all these things don't exist and we know we're not crazy, but it's still, these things are happening, obviously, that something's going on. And now that people are starting to come from behind the shadows themselves and come to the forefront and share these experiences, all of us who have experienced it always tend to think that, we're alone. We're the only ones that have experienced this kind of stuff. And now as these stories are starting to come out, which is why my show has become so popular, is because we are not alone. And so many of us share these similar stories, similar experiences, and this is what it's all about. So tonight for this show, if you would like to call in and ask a question, you can also listen live to it if you have to leave out of the house. You know, you can call on the phone and listen live. The phone number is area code 347-945-3. There's also a little Skype button right next to the phone number on the Blog Talk page for the show. You can also click there and call us on Skype. The one thing I do want to remind people, because a few people have called and they said, oh, geez, I tried to get on and I listened to the whole show and never got on. I assure you, my producer Tiffany is on the ball. If you call in, she will make sure you get transferred, or you can send her a private message on Blog Talk or on any of the public forums that were in there in the chat, and let us know. But you have to remember when you call in that if you want to listen live, you just listen. But if you want to get transferred to ask a question or share something with us, you have to push the number 1, and that will transfer you. Otherwise, you're just going to listen to us live on the phone. For everybody else, if you have a question, whether it be on Facebook or Blog Talk or in the chat room, we would ask you to just put it all in caps, and Tiffany will be great enough to keep an eye out for all of that, and then she will send them our way and we'll get them answered. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to our guest. Paul, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show tonight. Very interesting story that you have. And, so I'd like to say thank you for, agreeing to come and, share it with our listeners.
Well, I'm always willing to share my personal experience and at least what I consider to be truth. And I really want to let the viewers know right off the beginning of this, really don't believe anything I say. Don't judge anything I say. Those of you who know me through my activism, through my abduction experience, and those who are new to me, go by what I say and take it with a grain of salt, and go out and do your own research, your own homework. Because I could say one thing, and that may not resonate with everyone else. But that being said, it's really great being on the show, and thanks for having me.
Not a problem. So, let's obviously start, where it first begins, at the beginning. So when was your first experience, with anything paranormal?
Well, see, I've always been around people who dabbled in the paranormal or the occult, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing, I've always shied away from it. So, it was kind of like where a lot of girlfriends I've had either had their own cousins or cousins. I don't know how to say it the right way. This girl I know, Nancy from New Hampshire, who I just I'm glad that I've actually reconnected with on Facebook, has her own cousin in New Hampshire. So I can't seem to stay away from, you guys in the paranormal. And this is true. We're just universally connected. It really seems to be this way. Mm-hmm. And when I was young, I've seen a lot of things from the age of 6 until I would say, I'm 33, so, wow. So a couple of years ago, I would say about 6 years ago, so that would be 30. Yeah, so that's 6 years ago. So I've seen a lot of things, whether it be astral travel, whether it be alien abductions, and I'm going to get into how alien abductions and different dimensional beings actually have a really good connection with the paranormal as far as ghosts and poltergeists and stuff like that, because it's all connected. But, from a young age, I've really just been stuck in this connection with beautiful people, really sometimes weird experiences and shocking experiences, but stuff that us as individuals can go through this can grow on. And, it's sometimes you try to run away from the truth, but and even who you are. But what happens is the way the universe seems to work is that the truth and who you are and who you're meant to be and what you're meant to experience, you can't run from it. It could be the occult. It could be people you're supposed to meet. And when I say the occult, I don't mean the dark occult. Let's not, so let's not got our pitchforks and scream, what I mean is the occult as in, like, let's honor Mother Earth and, each element of, air, water, fire, stuff like that. That's what I mean. So it's just, it all started from that age of 6 and young age. And I really, at first when I was first abducted, and people are going to, like I say, it sounds crazy, but it was what most people would consider to be, I guess, astral, when you're floating out of your body, astral traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And I would find myself grabbing on the street lights because I was too scared I was going up, so when you're going up, you don't want to go too far because it's like, oh my God, how am I going to get back? So I'm grabbing onto like the street lights. Like if you're from the country, you'll notice you have like local Walmarts. If you go high enough, there's the street lights. So I would get that high and I would grab like that height and I would try not to like go too farther. And from that, I just seen things and I got to the certain age to where I, really got out of this victim mindset, if you want to say that, where it was like I'm just a victim and I'm abducted and I'm being taken to where I just really just started studying the paranormal, studying abductions, studying different alien races, different ways of the universes, the way the mind works, the subconscious works. And I really just said it's time to empower myself. And maybe I shouldn't shun away from the people or push away the people who were in the occult, that practice magic. Because if we look throughout history, we see that paranormal activity has been really active throughout the Native Americans, throughout the Sumerians, throughout the Egyptians. And the list goes, the list goes on and on. And then we also see that there's people back then who practiced and really understood about how the universe worked, where you're either hung on a cross or crucified, or burned or sort of chased away. So, it's just a blessing being able to really do what I do and experience what I experience and be able to reach out to so many. But, yeah, so...
Well, it's interesting that you say that you experienced, astral projection, because once again, that is something that, a lot of people tend to experience. Now, did you ever, growing up, experience sleep paralysis?
I've only had that once, and this wasn't growing up. This is when I was I think 25, and I had an apartment on Richmond Street. And the weird thing is I was ready to go to sleep, and I can remember, like, saying to myself, like, wow, this is really cool. I haven't had any abductions in a while. I'm safe. And I remember being able to not move. And this is being said the first time on your show, Christina. So, I remember being able to not move and hear a voice saying, "You think we can't get to you? We can get to you." And I heard feet running up the steps because I was on the third floor of this apartment building. It was the first floor I lived at. My buddy lived on the second floor, and I was on the third floor. And I heard like these beings running up the steps. And I remember being just in this fear, this panic, and I couldn't move. It was at that point, I remember it was clear as day because I was full of where it was going on, full of fear, but I could not jump. And I just forced myself to get up. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I jumped up, I heard dogs barking in the yard and found out the next day that the first floor door, and the lady who lived in the first floor's door was what do you call that? The lock was broken. Mm-hmm. Very strange. Very strange. So
wow.
that was the only time that I've ever had it where I couldn't control. And I think that years after that, because I was 25 then, but years after that is when I really got into how the mind works and how to empower ourselves to kind of make sure that doesn't happen. Because we always hear the saying, well, if humanity only understood how much potential we have, if humanity only understood how much, universal essence and magic we have. And I decided to, really take it upon myself to say, okay, well, let's see if this is true, which I really encourage all the viewers to really do, because we do.
Right, and so growing up, you said, you've been around, you grew up in a family around, people who, did dabble in, occultism, and obviously, if we look back, magic has been something that is very deep in, our history, as well as psychics. You could call them, seers, witches, whatever you want to call them, depending on the era, they were something else. A lot of times, people got these titles and had no idea. Myself growing up, I tell people all the time, there was no internet. So, I didn't know why I could see, these spirits and things like that. And growing up in the Catholic Church, of course, right away they thought that, they tell me, there are demons trying to, lure you in and make you believe they're loved ones, but there's no such thing. I had my family telling me it doesn't exist, they don't exist, stop making things up, all these different things. So I went to the library and all I could find was books on witchcraft and, Wicca and all these kind of things. And so I was like, well, geez, am I a witch? Is that what I am? And, and I was like, well, I don't know, because there was nothing to tell me. And I remember going to a psychic fair one time, and, I did some research when I was a teenager, and I said, okay, I'm going to check this out. And it was very interesting because I was watching all these, people at tables that you go and pay and, to get a reading. And, some of them were, okay, some of them were, just so off. And, I was like, okay, well, I asked a few questions, maybe I'm psychic. But, it was during a time where that title of a psychic was, equivalent to a scammer with a crystal ball that was going to tell you, you have demons and a curse on you and take every dime you had. And that wasn't me either. So it was very, very confused on really what this was, what I was supposed to do with it, things like that. And I myself ended up with, some sort of dark entity or demonic attachment myself that I talked about, the other night on, last night on the dark side of the paranormal. But it was definitely something that, not having an idea what was actually happening and no direction or advice from anybody to tell me how to deal with this stuff, it didn't surprise me that I ended up with one. But growing up in your family, since you did have some people who, dabbled in the occult, did, when you were having these experiences or anything, did your family explain them to you or teach you anything, stuff like that? Oh, there. You there? Yep,
yeah, you were breaking up a little bit. I was like, yeah, you were breaking up a bit, so I didn't hear that.
So when you ended up growing up and you were, seeing, shadow figures and having these experiences of astral projection, since your family did know, kind of about this stuff, what did they tell you?
Well, I never said it was my family that was in the occult, but
oh, okay, so around people around you. So, were you able to go to them for advice when this was happening to you?
Well, I never seen a shadow person until I was about 15.
Oh, yeah, well, that's about the time.
Yeah, yeah, I was in my mom's basement at the time, and the weird thing is that I was playing, was it Super Nintendo, I think it was, and this game called NBA Jams. And I was with a friend, so I do have a witness. And I'm playing the game, and I hear, shoot the ball. And I turn around and I look, and I see this glowing shadow, this glowing black shadow. And all I did was go, ah! And I ran. Okay, now you can imagine the size a basement flight of steps. I jumped from the bottom of the steps to the top, grabbed one, hit my face, halfway up, grabbed one, climbed up, and then and left my friend downstairs in the basement and shut the lights off. So that was pretty rough. I shouldn't have done that, but that was one of the first times that I've seen them. It mostly just occurred in the basement of my old house. And then when my ex-girlfriend had lived in my old house, I had asked, I said, I want to see who the shadow person is. I want to see who they are. So I noticed that I never called myself a psychic because I don't believe I am. I believe there are people that are psychics. I suppose we had 3 people that I were on radio shows with that were psychics. I mean, maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But I found that when you ask in dream state for answers, you usually get it. Because when we're in dream state, we operate on a different level of consciousness than we are when we're awake. And I've seen this guy, this evil, nasty guy with a blue shirt on. And he had, the pockets, how, the old school, he had to have some of the Hanes T-shirts where they had the one pocket in the chest. He had one of them on. And the weird thing is my ex-girlfriend who was living with me at my mom's house at the time, she's like, Paul, I've seen a guy. She could see things, but she could literally see ghosts, see them, where I couldn't. And this again is where how I always draw myself to people that have been the paranormal. And I asked her, I said, do you have a blue shirt on? She goes, oh my God, how did you know that? I said, well, where were you standing at? She goes, right in between the kitchen and the living room. I said, oh God, here we go. So it was like, it's time to pack our things and get out of this house. Well, but before we did, and this is the real kicker, because this is when I really started, again, empowering. And if anyone listens to my work, they understand self-empowerment is really what I push and love vibration. So I decided, that's all right, hon, we're going to get the apartment, So I would challenge this spirit, whatever it was at the time. I know what they are now, but at the time it was just, it was just this thing. And what really concerned me was my mom had passed away in the same house. So I decided, all right, I'm going to come down and talk to it. In the basement, I was challenging it and lighting candles, and it was getting bad. So, and this is the first paranormal show I've ever been on about ghosts and all, which is really cool because I can talk about these experiences because I really haven't, talked about my experiences in Wicca or stuff like that on any radio show. So, I just challenged it. It's kind of immature if you think about it now to do something like that. But it was go home. I just kept saying go home. Your negative energy isn't wanted here anymore. Stuff like that. And I would throw salt everywhere, and stuff like that, and burn sage. And I still think to this day, because I know what these shadow people are now, I still think it's there. So.
Same thing with, mine, and it, and some of these people that listen, have heard this, story already, but, it was getting so bad for me that this shadow figure that I had, and I could see that it was, from the voice, I could know it was a man. It had a very deep, dark voice.
Oh, yeah, really deep, voice. Right.
Yes. And it also reminded me of the Grim Reaper because it had a long black cape and a hood to it. I couldn't see its face. And, the thing is that over the research over the years, we find that, in the teen years is when children who do have abilities that they have, everybody has these abilities, okay? It's not, I keep telling people, I'm not anybody special. everybody is born with these abilities, but depending on your, religion and, your family's, perspective and, what's available, for people to learn and everything, usually by the time they end up going to school, the abilities are shut down. But for some of us who it still stays very, very strong, by the time that we hit our teens, with all the hormones and all the changes and everything, we started tracking the darker stuff. And just like you said, how you challenged it, I did as well, because I was having so many issues in life at that time, and I'd been subject to physical, mental, and sexual abuse, and this thing and the darker stuff would always tell me not to tell anybody, or stuff would start happening to them, and so was something I was very good at keeping the secret, and it finally eventually I started cutting myself, because it was really the only way I could kind of release all of the energy that was building up within myself. And this dark shadow figure at one point, decided to show me how powerful it was and how strong it was, in reality. And it literally, the next second, was behind me, and it had his arms around me, and literally, caused me to pick up the razor blade that I had been using and started cutting my wrist, but not across like everybody else sees. It was cutting it, straight up and down. And anybody who as an adult knows, that is the true way. If you're going to kill yourself like that, will affect you more than cutting it, crosswise. And as he was doing this, he whispered in my ear and said, "All you have to do is push a little bit harder, and it'll all be over. All the pain will be over. You'll be with us." And it was, I don't know what it was. I was in the middle of praying and everything. I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. And at that point, it was like a light bulb went on, because I heard, all you have to do is push a little harder. And I'm like, okay, hold on a second. If you're so powerful, how come you can't do it, right? So I was able to kind of grab control back and, being argumentative and, wanting to challenge this thing. Now I feel like I'm, stronger than it. I've got it, figured out. And, I literally looked straight at it and said, "Oh, if you're so, bad and you're so powerful, why do you hide behind, that hood? Why don't you show me who you really are?" And sure as hell, he said, "Oh, you want to see what I look like? You want to see who I am?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And he put his head forward, took down the hood, and when he took down the hood, it was literally right out of every picture of what Satan looks like. That's what it was. And, now, and now I know, as an adult, I've been, doing research in this all these years, these things know us better than we know ourselves, and they know every fear we have. And, and at the time, I was, a very devout Catholic and things like that, so there's not much worse in life that it could have scared me other than, seeing, what I thought was Satan itself. And, I went, and the next day I went to the library, and I still couldn't find anything, but I'm like, okay, I found a book of casting spells, and I found a binding spell to bind abilities. So I figured, I can just bind my own abilities, and voila, it's fixed. And, I did it, and it everything stopped for a while, and then after a while, little by little, the regular spirits started coming back, to get messages and stuff like that, but nothing bad. I was like, okay, no problem. But I still didn't really want the abilities, and so I kind of tried to get away from them. But when I had my near-death experience, they came back, which is the interesting part, because I've always been able to see spirits visually. I could see them just like you and I, other than they're more transparent than we, But when I had my near-death experience and came back, not only were my abilities, tenfold stronger, I had new abilities. I was having premonitions and visions, and I could do, dreams and all this kind of stuff. And but I started seeing all these different entities, And if people didn't think I was crazy enough, saying I could see dead people, last thing I was going to do is go tell people that now I could see aliens and, like
right,
dark
exactly.
entities.
Right.
It's hard enough
it's a beautiful thing, though.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing because the one thing I really, really love about the story is that you've gone through all these things, okay? Why does it seem, and maybe I'm wrong, but why does it seem that the people who go through a torturous, dark, rough upbringing wind up doing first of all, wind up being contacted? I think it's like people like you or me or anyone else who's listening, we go through, you have these rough childhoods, and then you wind up, first of all, it kind of seems like different dimensional beings know that you're who you're going to be in the future. So they try to come and say, we're going to make you, like you said, cut a little harder, or they'll say, we're going to scare you and harass you and drag your energy down. Because look at what you're doing now. You're reaching so many people doing what you do, and I do what I do, and I reach the people I reach. And I think it's kind of weird. Like, if you put two and two together, you kind of think like, or like they were sent to kind of knock us off track or what? But it only makes us stronger because, I always hear the stories where people say, well, psychic awareness dims down as you get older. Once I hit 30, once I hit 28, I'm going to say, I don't like the word psychic ability. I hate it.
Right.
I don't like the word.
Right. Well, most of us don't like that title.
Remote viewer.
Yeah.
All I have to say is that if I see somebody, I can look at them for 5 minutes and know. And that's all I have to say about that. Because I don't get into the paranormal that much. But those out there who have any kind of gift understand what I'm saying. But it seems like once I hit 28, I was just like, the light was on. The light was on. Like, I mean, literally, I would sit at a bar, and this guy was nasty, and I just I would come up to him, I grabbed him, thought about his whole life, thought about families who died, and looked at him. I said, when is it time to change? And he looked at me and just broke down and crying in front of his friend. I said, that's all I got to say. I tipped the bartender and I walked out. And the next day I wake up like, Paul, what the heck did you just do, dude? Like, really? Did you, like, really? And I don't think it's a psychic. It's just, I don't know. All I know is that I'm here to awaken as many people I can to the wrongness in the world and to make as many people smile as I can. Do I have my faults? Yes. Can I be smug or egotistical at times? Not a lot, but it happens to all of us from time to time. But I mean, it's just weird because it seems that when we go, the ones who really seem to like do what make a change, make a difference in the world, like me, you, and others do, that we have either a rough upbringing or we have some kind of like evil entities or issues, So.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's a beautiful thing also.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, and I think that, same thing, like people would hear my story over, the years, just not about the paranormal stuff because I didn't really come out with all that, until, probably about 10 years ago. And I'm like with you. I never told anybody I was psychic, much less even tell them about my abilities, unless they were certain people that, a specific message needed to be given to them, and I would do that. I usually didn't know them. They'd be, surprised. But people that I would tell about my childhood or things I had gone through, all these different things, they would say, oh, my gosh, it's like you're so inspirational. Like, how can you have gone through such torment and such horrible things, yet still have such a positive outlook on life? But one of the things that I noticed over time was that these were all lessons. These were all things that I learned something out of. And even when I thought like I couldn't take it anymore, after I would realize how strong I was. And when I had my near-death experience, they told me, it wasn't my time. I needed to go back. I needed to, help others to understand. I had to share, my story. All this information was given to me that I was supposed to do. And, I wanted to stay. I didn't want to come back. And they made me come back. It wasn't a choice, but when I came back, I was when I woke up, I was diagnosed with an illness with no cure, given 3 to 5 years to live. And I thought, what a sick joke. Like, why would you take me, tell me it's not my time to go, I got to come back, only to tell me now that I've got something else that's going to kill me, you know? I'm like, really? Like, and so then I felt like, okay, you know, if they said I need to, you know, do this and I'm going to get 3 to 5 years, you know, I better, you know, start doing what I'm supposed to do.
It's time to put the pedal on the metal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here we are almost 12 years later, and I'm still here. I mean, my illness has progressed, and, you know, I am at the later stages of it. But I have, since the point of my near-death experience, I have completely committed, you know, my life to giving back and helping and, you know, doing what I can, not just in the paranormal, but, you know, all across the board. I mean, I created my team. We volunteer all over the place. We help other people. You know, I lecture all over the place. And everything that I do is for free. I have never charged a dime.
Oh, my God, I love that.
Anyone.
Good.
Anyone.
Good.
And because this is what it's about. It's not about money, and I will be damned if I use, you know, my gift for personal gain.
God, it's amazing you said that, because a lot of people give me criticism and activism, like, oh, you could be making all this money, you could be doing this. Like, dude, like, are you kidding me? Like, there's people like, and you know what, I'm going to say it on your show. I'm going to say it. You ready? Hit my donation button. You know what? I got a donation button for you. It's called Get Reality Check. Because,
exactly.
I mean, hon, listen, the food's poison, the water poison, the air is poison. There's so much going on right now. People are getting cancer and all these diseases, and from what? Because why? Out of nowhere? And you want me to ask people who can't even afford a Christmas gift for their kids to hit that donation button? I swear to God, if someone comes up and asks me, it felt so good hearing you say that, because, you know, and I get a lot of flack for that. Like, I get a lot of people who say, well, I don't even want to touch Princetruthchaser. I don't, you know, because he doesn't ask for a donation, and he criticizes against donations. You know, it's not about money, because, see, we understand that there is no such thing as death, because we've been there, because we see it. We understand the effects of love vibration and how it's, and look, if your dream costs you money, then you need to give it up, number one. And number two, here's the kicker, okay? You know, if I'm an activist, and I'm really good at it, and I love it, not to say that for ego reasons, but just to get where I'm getting at is, okay, if I have to rely on other people to do what I do, then, and I say, well, I hear these people that say, well, I'm too good, you know, to work or wash dishes or to do this or do that. Okay, well, and you're better than the people you're trying to fight for, correct? Correct. Makes me sick. Makes me want to puke. And that's how I feel. You know, if you want to go to lectures, you know, say, do it. I mean, listen, am I against donations? Honestly, I'm against it personally. But
right.
Do what you want to do. Whatever resonates within you, if donation buttons resonates within you, then fine. You have to live with it. You have to do it. But you know what? I've made it this far, and I'm so humbled, you know, coming from where I came from. And you're psychic, you're probably already reading me. So whatever. So, you know, you got me fired up on this, because coming from where I came from to just, and even on Facebook, how when I would message you and you would message me, you know, sometimes you get a little, what's that word, misunderstanding, because I don't like texting people. I want to, you can misunderstand people when you text them. Talk to me. And
right.
You know. So, you know, it's just been such a blessing to get this far, and honestly say that, you know, what you were saying, you're in your later progressive stages of when you pass on, we'll call it that. You know, and I'm sure they're going to be waiting for you with bells ringing and everything, and you know what you're going to say? You're going to say, okay, well, you know, this is what I would say. But I'm sure you're going to say, hey, look, you're going to say, I want to come back. We'll have our little 5-minute party, and I want to come back and do it again. Because I want to try to tell people, this is a learning experience for the soul. You understand? So we're warriors in this universal game called life. And it's just, God, when you brought up that donation thing, you just had me like fired up because it's reality. The dollar, the amount of money, you already know the economy is going. I already know that. We're not even going to get into that because it's a paranormal show. But, wow, just thanks so much for having me on the show. And, you know, if you want to get into the alien aspect, I would love to hear it. I'm sure the viewers would love to hear about you said you can see aliens. I'm kind of interested in that.
Yeah, we're actually going to take a break real quick, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about that and some of the things that I've seen. I'm interested to also hear, you know, as well what, you know, you've seen. And once again, callers, I know we're getting a lot of interaction and chat with some of my team members online and in chat room. So, you know, you guys are awesome. We'll go over some of these topics you're talking about when we get back. But if you want to call in or, you know, share your experiences and stories or have a question for, you know, either caller, the phone number when we come back will be 347-945-5313. Oh, we've got so much more to go, people. So we're going to take a few minutes of a break. So just hold on, grab yourself something to drink, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Rolling Hills Asylum. Located in East Bethany, New York, just minutes between two major airports, Rolling Hills Asylum is a hotbed of paranormal activity. They have been featured on Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures, Paranormal Challenge, as well as Sci-Fi Channel's Ghost Hunters. Rolling Hills Asylum has been named the #2 most haunted location in the United States by HauntedNorthAmerica.com. The property was established on January 1st, 1827, as the county poor farm. Throughout the years, it has operated as a poor farm, infirmary, orphanage, tuberculosis hospital, nursing home, and more. Past residents and inmates consist of widows, orphans, physically disabled, mentally unstable, murderers, and more. Over 1,700 bodies are buried in unmarked graves, and hundreds more deaths went undocumented. Rolling Hills Asylum is known for a plethora of phenomena, including disembodied voices, doors slamming, footsteps, sounds of furniture moving, full-body apparitions, shadow people, ghostly touches, and numerous Class A EVP. Rolling Hills Asylum proudly offers historical and flashlight tours, 4- and 8-hour public ghost hunts, 8- and 9-hour private ghost hunts, and more, by appointment or pre-booking only. For more information, please visit www.rollinghillsasylum.com. That's www.rollinghillsasylum.com. Or give them a call, 585-502-4066. That's 585-502-4066. Rolling Hills Asylum. What are you doing this weekend? Rolling Hills Asylum. Located in East Bethany, New York, just minutes between two major airports, Rolling Hills Asylum is a hotbed of paranormal activity. They have been featured on Travel Channel's Ghost Adventures.
And hello, everybody. We're back, and again, it's Christina George of Paranormal Connection, and tonight my guest is Paul Leslie, and we're talking about paranormal experiences that tie into extraterrestrial contact or visits. And we were having a little bit of audio issues, and so that connection, which sometimes we have on this, I'm surprised at this show we're not having a lot of EVPs because we seem to get a lot when we have the show. So we reconnected everything, and we got a great connection with Paul, so we're going to go ahead and finish it up. So are you still there, Paul?
I am still here.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. So we were talking before we left for the break about being able to see extraterrestrial beings after my near-death experience. And I will tell you, you know, as I said, I saw human spirits. I could see what were these, I considered, you know, demonic spirits or entities because of the way they looked, you know, but once again, it's just my perception. And then I started seeing, you know, actually aliens, you know, short ones, tall ones, all different, you know, sizes, colors. And then I started, on top of that, I started seeing these entities that were combinations of either the human and animals or multiple animals together. You know, like it'd be the body of one animal and a head of a different one, and, you know, very, very strange. And I actually had a guest on my Alien UFOs and Beyond show, and he is actually somebody who sees all these, you know, quote-unquote extraterrestrial beings and entities and stuff like that. And it really piqued my interest because he would talk about that he had seen ones that were, you know, different animals, the combinations of animals and stuff like I had. So I had him on the show, and he had actually, he's an artist, so he had drawn all these different things that he had seen. And I started looking through them, and I was literally blown away because there were so many that were exactly what I had seen. And there's always, it's kind of great, and that's why I do these shows, because, you know, like I said, so people don't feel so alone, because it is really kind of this amazing feeling when you're like, oh my gosh, somebody knows what I'm talking about. So for you, you know, what kind of beings have you seen?
Well, I mean, I've seen the, you know, the typical short little big-headed Zetas, with the black eyes. I've seen the tall Zetas with the black eyes. I've seen the feline-looking ones that have the human shape with the cat face. I've also seen some that kind of look like a Klingon from Star Wars. I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek, I think it is.
Oh, I was a Trekker for sure.
Yeah, so me too. So yeah, I still am, you know, a game nerd and a, you know, Star Trek nerd. Always have been, but you see, the thing with me is that when I seen what I seen, it was like, oh my God. And I think the thing for me was when I actually seen someone shapeshift. It was a girl I had met when I was coming out of the Army. And the weird thing is when I was discharged from the Army, I said, this is when I was just getting my feet wet in, you know, researching certain things based off of what I've experienced myself. And I said, well, I'll expose the whole underground bases and different dimensional frequencies and stuff. And the lieutenant just threw me up against the wall, punched me a couple times, and said, you're getting discharged. I was like, okay, whatever. So I got discharged. An honorable discharge, believe it or not. And, yeah, well, it's ridiculous, but excuse me, but so when I was being discharged, she smiled at me. I smiled at her. It didn't seem odd at the time. I was waiting for the airport for the flight to come to Philadelphia, and she's like, well, you're not getting on your flight. You're going to a hotel with me. I'm like, huh? Yeah, you're talking 2005, 2006. So then, I mean, I'm kind of like, okay. Cool. You know, like most guys will. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we go back to the hotel. Long story short, I meet her. She meets me. Then all of a sudden she has a place in the country, you know, her own house, her own car. You know, you're talking 25 years old, whatever. How you have all this? You never, at the time, you never think about this. So how do you have all these things? And no job, no talking about any kind of work experience or anything, but, you know, me thinking like a male, it's no big deal, let's go. And while making love, her lower left leg got real rough. And her, you know, and her arm got rough. And she kind of like, when you're making love to a man and a man's on top of you, you can take, well, she took her arm and kind of put my head on the side of her head, so I couldn't actually lift my head, and see her face.
Right.
So, but I could turn. I was like, I seen the leg. I'm like, what in the world am I looking at? But I wasn't scared. That was weird because I wasn't scared. I was just like, everything was cool until that moment. But I wasn't like, if you hear stories about people that they jump off or see a tail and a lizard person or something, I wasn't afraid. But until I think it was, I'll get into her opinion on this, but after I'd seen what I seen, I had this overwhelming feeling that I was used, that I was like less than her, that I was just like this pawn. She was sent to see what I know, monitor me. And one thing I noticed about her was that she had extraordinary lower body strength, leg strength. When you get into the whole reptilian aspect of different aliens, they're a lot stronger, a lot agiler than we are. The hybrids are supposed to be the same way. But at the time, I couldn't realize. I'm like, wow, this girl can literally wrap her legs around my chest and do, like, sit-ups. Wow, I'm like, you know what I'm saying? And she was never, there was no proof of a big athlete or anything like that. So it was really weird to me. And she would, like, just, make these oddball comments, like how certain people would just have a normal conversation. She couldn't. Like, she would say, like, oddball stuff. Like, I'm not going to say that, but just oddball stuff that normal people, like, would say, like, after dinner. Like, you would say, are you finished eating? She would say, are you done completing your meal? Like, huh? I'm done completing my meal. Like, what are you talking? You wouldn't say, you wouldn't normally say. But anyway, so I want to reconnect them with her on Facebook. And the weird thing to me was, after years of not talking to this person, I knew I wasn't crazy, but I just wanted that satisfaction. I wanted two things. One was to hear that I was right, and I seen what I seen. And two was to actually meet her and say, look, as long as you're positive, I love you. Look, I'll get a pizza. Right. I don't care. That's the love vibration that runs through me. That I really don't care. If you're positive, I don't care who you look like or where you're from. So she justified. She said, well, she justified, but she confirmed what I seen was real, which was like a weight off my chest. But then she was just negative at times. I'm not gonna lie. It was like when she seen that I really took this whole what I'm doing now to the whole different level that I'm at now. It angered her, I guess, because there's certain things that you're just not supposed to say. And this is why I tell people, I say, listen, with me being an activist and as big as I am in activism, and I mean that ego-free, a lot of people know me. Not to say I'm big, but that plus knowing what I know about different realities, different vibrations, it makes me a target. And this is just fact.
Oh, absolutely.
It does. Because not a lot of people, now if I start, you got to realize, I'm reaching people that are just average people on the streets. Once I awaken them to that, the reality that you think you see isn't really the reality, and how you can manifest thoughts and do this and do that, all possibilities are endless. So it makes me a target. So she seemed to really get angry at that, and she was just, the anger went from, she was angry, but there was nothing she could do about it. So it kind of seemed like she just wanted to sit back on Facebook and monitor me. Any approaches that I've tried to make, and I'm not going to lie, hey, how you doing? You want to hang out? Nope. I don't want to hang out. Such a great friend. That's the response I would get. And I put two and two together, and I'm thinking that the reason that I'm getting a cold shoulder, if you want to call it that, was because it was kind of like, you already know who I am now. You already know too much. So being together just ain't going to happen.
Right. Because the cover's kind of been blown at this point.
To me, though. But go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, but kind of like cover's been blown, but it is kind of sad, because the thing is that, you are very accepting. I have a very interesting story. Renee Chavez, who is actually one of my lead team members on both my UFO division of PTRS as well as the paranormal side. And he has an amazing story himself. And, when I first met him, we had met on Facebook, then we ended up seeing each other at a MUFON meeting that we were both attending. And I'll tell you, it is if we had known each other forever. And it was instantaneous.
Yeah.
And for me, it's very hard for me to trust a lot of people, and because I can read them so well. And, you know, so usually I don't get that instant connection to people, but I did with him. And, you know, after talking to him, you know, for a while, he, you know, came clean with me, and he said, you know, there's something I need to discuss with you. And I said, okay. And he said, what would you say if, you know, I had this story to tell you, and it was really, sounded really crazy. And, you know, I always laugh because, you know, that's one of the first things that, you know, people will tell me. They'll say, you know, I'm about to say this, and I swear I'm not lying. Like, I know it sounds crazy, and, but, you know, it's like that's usually, you know, how people think. So I said, you know, I probably can promise you I'm not going to think you're crazy. And so he was telling me that, you know, he was a walk-in, you know, from a reptilian race. And, you know, of course, you know, anything that's out there about reptilians is all, you know, very negative. But he's probably one of the most loving, caring people I've ever met. And when I heard his full story of what had happened to him, it just broke my heart. And, you know, he was so kind of taken back that I didn't judge him, and that, you know, I was okay with all this. In fact, I was actually very intrigued, and I wanted to know more. You know, I'm like, okay, now I need to know, like, tell me some stuff. Like, I need to understand all this. And, you know, I've seen that, you know, with everything, just like with people here on Earth, you know, there are good and bad in everything. There, you know, and there are religions or practices that, you know, are good and bad. It's, you know, for witchcraft, it really depends on what side of, you know, the coin you're on. But to be able to be that accepting, you know, once you understand, because for most of us, people automatically, you know, their brain will go into this fear factor, you know, state, where they're like, oh my God, this isn't, you know, something normal. Especially if you saw some, like, you know, somebody's, you know, leg change.
It's a monster, run.
Yeah, absolutely. Or when people's tails, you know, they'll say that their tails come, or somebody who is, you know, shape-shifting, you know, to try to keep a human form, and, you know, for whatever reason, you know, it's like they let their guard down, and, you know, the eyes will start to change, you know.
It's funny you said let the guard down, right?
Yes, yes.
It's funny you said let the guard down, because there's two ways that they let their guard down. One is through passion, and one is through anger. But that's with anyone. And, you know, Christina, here's the thing, is that, you know, the reptilian race, and we never hear about them. It's always the Greys, the Greys, the Greys. Listen, the Greys are just workers. They're slaves.
Right.
Okay, you know, and that's one of the key things with my abduction is I want to meet the boss. Because if I have to answer to you and you're not the boss, then when I really started empowering myself and really understanding the DNA of humanity, I talked to a couple of people, let's just say that, and they said we're like the caviar of the universe. So we have every amount of DNA, but we've been dumbed down throughout years and years and years of dumbed down. See, and you have reptilians that walk around that think they're the bad, you know, oh yeah, look at me, you know, they don't see me, and, you know, I own this business and that business and this and this and this and this. They're the big, I can't say they're on live, you know what I want to say. They're the head honchos. And then you have some that are loving, that are humanitarians who care about people. But, you know, I think the thing is if they're seen, they go into panic mode also, because, oh my God, they just seen me, you know. So, like, I had a landlord, and he asked me to help him fix something. And I helped him fix it, and he shook my hand because he knows what I do. And he said, no, look at me. And his eyes shape-shifted. I said, oh, okay. He said, thank you. Because he understood, and this is what a lot of hybrids and all and shapeshifters and all understand, is that when I first started out, I started out very angry. Because when you think about what happened to humanity, we've been dumbed down, we've been slaved. And, you know, you don't think automatically that there are some reptilians out there that want to help. You don't think that there are some rogue ones out there that aren't just these. And the reptilian race is a really prideful, decent, honorable race. that just have this, they're the powerhouse of the universe. It's that simple. But there are some good ones out there. And beings as we have a mixture of different DNAs, it just makes us that special too. So when I found that out, I'm like, dude, I am just as good as you are, okay? So I want to understand you and what you guys are about. And as soon as I did that and empowered myself, that fear and anger that I had at first, and this is why I don't delete some of the earlier YouTube anti-gray or anti-hybrid videos, because I want people to see my early stages in my career and what I was about. Because most people would say, oh, well, I'm on this love vibration kick, I want to erase. No, I want people to see it. See how I was when I first started, and then see where I am now. Because you see that transition, Christina, that we're human beings. And from the hybrids that I have met, like you were saying about your friend, we realize that there are decent ones out there. And a couple of things I've learned about the reptilians is there are some feisty species. Like, they're very feisty is the word I use, because they're really, edgy. And the cool thing about it is when you see people who are not human or half, human, there's two things that are going to happen. And for all the viewers to listen, I think we're totally crazy. But there's two things out there, and the people who see what we see can relate. Either A, you're going to have the fight or flight scenario, which is basically, oh my God, he sees me, I'm going to get really angry and show my reptilian tail and roar. You're either going to have that, or you're going to have, wow, he can see me or she can see me, but they see me with acceptance, so I'm going to show them. And the reason why I've had such success with them showing me openly is because they understand that I'm not judging. And when if you're a reptilian or a different dimensional being, or just, you can literally, because we look through our reality is perceived through light, through our eyes. So right out of our perception is why we can't see them. But if you were a different dimensional being and, you have to have this human form, and you find someone who's really loving and understanding that can see you and accepts you, of course you're going to want to show them, because you feel in your skin.
Right.
You feel comfortable,
Right.
And it's amazing.
So it's just like, once people start talking about their experiences, it's like many people will, come and share stuff on, my pages or with me or on the shows, because they do feel safe and comfortable that they can. It's like, a breath of fresh air, because they can, talk about their experiences and who they are without being judged, because people get them. They understand them. They're not, thinking that they're, so many people growing, when people would find out that I had to, I could see spirits, like they were thinking that, I was practicing, Satanism, or that I was possessed, and the things you could imagine.
Were you practicing Satanism?
No.
You were practicing Satanism?
No. I said a lot of people thought I was.
Oh, okay.
And it was. Oh, no. And no, so people would just think I did, because, right away people think that, that that's what this is about, or that you're a witch or things like that. And, it was very interesting. And I've actually been seeing UFOs as long as I can remember. I never had I could never recount, ever being abducted or contact or anything like that, that I had known of. But what I did remember is that every time I moved, literally a couple times a year. And where I grew up, I went to every single elementary school. I went to all of the junior high schools, and I went to both high schools. So I moved a lot. And whenever we would move to a new location, I would either go into the front yard or the backyard. I always was fascinated with the sky. Rather, in the daytime, I would be looking at the clouds, and at nighttime, I would be looking at the stars. And whenever I would move to a new place, the night that I moved in, I would always see a UFO. And I would only see it once, just the night that we moved in, and I wouldn't see it again till the next time I moved. And it took a few times before it started really kind of what the heck is going on? You know, because the first time I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, why is that star moving and, you know, blinking and, you know, it's like making all these different turns is like really weird, you know, and then each time, you know, it happens again, I'm kind of like, okay, what's up? You know, this is not what I'm thinking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, like, are they going to take me? Like, what's going on? And as I got older, I thought, you know, they must be like monitoring me or something. And, you know, and subsequently, you know, I have even, you know, since then, I've had many people who are very well known. In fact, Cynthia Crawford, who is known as, I don't know if you know her, she's worldwide known as the E.T. sculptor, and she sculpts the bust of different alien races. And depending on what alien race you're connected to, you know, the Star Children, you know, things like that are related to, she creates these to help them to summon and connect with their star families. And immediately when she talked to me, and she's gifted as well, immediately when she talked to me, one of the first things she said is, you don't even understand who you are, do you? And I'm like, what do you mean?
I've heard that before. That is insane. It's insane you said that. It kind of, as soon as you said that, it was like ring, 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 ring.
And it was interesting because growing up I had, you know, like out of the blue, like people would just kind of like come up to me randomly and like want to talk to me or come and tell me these strange messages and, you know, and then I'd never see them again. It was just like, it was really weird. But, you know, she said, you don't even know who you are. And I'm like, yeah, I am.
All right, come on. Stop saying that. Because every time you say that, I get a chill. This isn't supposed to happen live on radio, all right? This is something we're supposed to talk about off air.
Hey, well, this is something that, you know, welcome to my show.
Yeah, right.
And she actually said that, you know, she said, can you send me a picture of yourself? And I was like, okay. And she said, you know, I'm picking up a lot of stuff, but I really want to see your picture. And she's like, you know, are you dark hair? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, green eyes? And I'm like, yeah. Like, you know, how do you know? Because she had never, like, we weren't friends on Facebook or anything like that. I just got her phone number from, you know, a mutual friend. So she said, just do me a favor and just send me, you know, the picture. So I did. And, like, literally within a few minutes, she calls me back and she's like, oh, my gosh, I was absolutely right. And she did tell me that I need to go forward with my regression, which I knew, and actually in a meditation, which I would only get, you know, my guides telling me, you know, things before, I started getting meditation where they were actually telling me that, you know, I would get answers to regressions, and I was going to do a regression one time, and my guides literally told me that I had to cancel it, and that there would be a woman that I would encounter who specialized in regression for abductees and contactees. And that's who I needed to do the regression with. And literally like a couple days later, I met Lori McDonald. And that's exactly what she does. And she came to me for help, so we got all these connections. And you know, I've kind of back off the air. You know, I will tell you, you know, what she did give me. But I'm going to do a show on it after my regression here shortly, and to bring all this forward and bring Cynthia on the show. But it floored me, the information that she gave me, and you know, it's been that way on and off. Now with you, you know, what was the first age that you felt that, or know that you were contacted or abducted? And there's you know, people don't realize that there's a big difference between those two, you know, of being a contactee and an abductee. So which were you?
I just want to say it's amazing being on this show tonight, and thank you and the producers and staff for having me on again, because I wasn't expecting this. But it's amazing. But yeah, this is great. I think to say what age were you aware of? I don't think. Wow. No, I really don't. What age were you aware? I can remember back being a young age, 6, 7 tops, in between 6 and 7. I remember running up the steps into the front room, and a lion being in the hallway between the bedroom and between the front bedroom and the hallway. I remember going to the basement and seeing this bright light, and the only thing I can say would look like would be a shadow of a big gray Zeta face. But the question is, when was I aware? You know, I mean, I think I was aware. I wasn't aware then. You know, I don't think you're aware until you really understand on a conscious level of actually what you've experienced. I believe that because, you know, you can say I've had memories when I was younger, but to say when you're, I would say, well, oh my God, when I was aware would probably. That's a good question. 33, probably about 25 years old. When I really started, it all happened to me when I had my youngest daughter, and we were living in the apartment, and I was sleeping on the floor, and I seen one of the tall Zetas come in, and I just got up and started swinging because I looked. This happened to me. And you hear stories, well, if it happens to you, it's a thing where it happens through family generations. Listen, I don't think so. Okay, nobody's touching my kid, because the way I look at it is, okay, the way I see things is you're taking away my free will, my right to say no, and I think that because now that I've empowered myself now, that I have a responsibility to make sure. If I can't help my children, that other dimensional beings will be called on to help my children because they have a right to say no. I don't believe hogwash. Oh, you know, well, it's a part of your karmic soul contract. That would give me a break. Listen, you know, I think it's, you know, I've talked to Brett Oldham, and he also has a book. It's called Children of the Grays. Let's bring up Brett Oldham for a minute, okay? Who has been abducted, who has a really great songbook. Man, it's amazing. I've interviewed him, and when I had brought that up to him about the soul contract, he said, "You know what that is?" He said, "It's the Greys, how they put implants in people, you know, to track them and all. They make you they make you their slave. They tell you what to think and what to say. Like, oh, well, you know, they make you think that, hey, look, you agreed to this. They make you think, hey, look, I need to spread. Oh, the Greys are all good. Listen, the Greys are not all good. Some of them are. I've studied the book that was found in Russia. It was called the 60 Species that are actually on this planet, underground and stuff like that. We literally live in a Men in Black scenario. I better watch the movie Men in Black with Will Smith. You know what I'm talking about. You know, it's right out of the movie what we're living in right now. But and the thing is some of them actually look like the Greys, but are really nice. Some of them look like reptilians that are really nice. But there are some that work with our government that aren't nice. And you know, my thing is when I had my experience, at 25, when I realized, hey, look, you know, this is what's going on. Start studying, start educating yourself, empower yourself. Shortly after I was encountered by this tall gray Zeta, whatever you want to call it, being, it came again. And it always happens like right when you're ready to go to sleep. And you know, I just want your viewers to know, call in, please. Call in, challenge what I say, question what I say. Don't believe what I say. You know, empower yourself to learn more and empower others. That's what I want to say, because after the first encounter that I had, they came again. This time, these two huge, 9 to 10 feet tall, and I'll never forget it, cat-faced beings stepped on each side of me, just like stepped in front of me like what? Like literally just like that, like back up. And it disappeared. I have never, ever, ever, ever seen a Zeta or a Gray since that point. And and here's the thing. I had a dream after that. I was being taken by the hands through kind of looked like a temple. There was a bunch of candles at the end of this, stuff like that. It was all like I can explain, it was like a temple with candles at the end, and I was being held hand in hand to go to see this person, you know, and I thought, oh my God, it's a gray. Here we go again. Oh my God. And then I seen this face, and this love hit me, got down, and I just started crying, like, oh my God, like it's the weight of the world, all the pain, all the trauma, everything you've ever went through in your life is now gone. And they stood me, and he looked at me after they stood me up, and he shook his head no. And that was the most disheartening thing I think I've ever felt in my entire life. Like, he's not ready. And that is when I'm just like, this is it. No matter what I do in life, I don't care. Service to others, it's that simple. I don't want to. And when you said earlier about the donations, that hit me, because we really need to understand that everything we do is energy. And when I seen him shake I don't even say him, shake his head no, I kind of look at it now like I wasn't ready. I still had more work to do, but it's still. You know, it's so like how you said when you had your near-death experience, you didn't want to come back. You wanted to stay because it's so much better. It's like you're not, you know, every how can I explain this? If you get a tingle in your body, multiply that by 1,000 to where your whole existence has that tingle. Your whole existence has that feeling. And that's life. That is that feeling. You know, it doesn't go away. So that's the experience that I felt. And I feel like that I want that again. I mean, people say, oh, well, you know, you should accept them. I said, no, not at all. I don't want their help. I don't want their guidance. I don't want their to help me or keep possessions or anything. I want to do it all myself. I want to do anything I do on this planet, because obviously they came to me for a reason. Now, whether they watch it with me, that's fine, but don't directly take away my free will and interact with me to where the choice isn't mine to make, you know? And I kind of feel that I want everything to be me. Like people say, oh, well, I have these star things and I call upon them. I don't, you know, and what I say is real, Christina. I don't BS. I don't candy coat it for money. I don't say things so people could want to hear what I've heard or want to hear what they want to hear so I'll get more YouTube views. I don't care. Honestly, right. I really don't want their help. I want to do it myself, and when it's my time to graduate, I want to come back. As crazy as that sounds. Like, I want a month off, you know. I want a month off. Give me a month to feel what I felt in that 1 second, in that essence of that 1 second. Give me 30 days of that, and I'll come back and I'll do 100 years. Because I always say, until this planet or any other planet that's in 3D has ascended, I want to come back. I want to come back and bring them all up. I want to, you know, it's easy to beat. I always say this too. It's always easy to beat someone down as an individual, but real strength comes from reaching down and bringing them up and saying, I love you.
Great.
And I feel
Great.
that that's our calling. That people say, oh, I want to go home. I can't wait for that moment. You know, when we came here, you know, we came here as warriors. You're a princess warrior. I'm a warrior, whatever. You know, we came here to help these people who don't know, and to say that I want to go home. It's coward talk. It's talk. It's talk for the weak for me, and that's not popular. People, you know, and people try to say, "Well, you're love vibration. How could you say that?" Listen, just because that's how I live. I live the life of a warrior. I live the life of someone who will run in that fire and grab you, and bring you out and wake you up and say, "Let's get it going," you know. And at the same time, I'll hug my kids, and tell them how much I love them. And see someone and bring them up. I mean, that's just what I do. I don't sugarcoat or candy coat things in the UFO community like most people do. They do. Most people get their information. Like when people talk about the feline species, they say, oh, they're from Lyra, and there was this big black. Look, I've heard that on the Internet. I don't want to hear about what you've heard on the Internet. You know? I've had shows I've gone on where I've just hung up the phone. Hang them up. You know? And they call me back. I'm like, I don't want to hear it. What you're saying, it doesn't resonate with me, and I can't get on the air and lie to people because people deserve the truth. And if people are so brainwashed or microchipped to where they feel that this is right and this is right and this is right, that my voice never gets heard, then screw it. Then screw it. And I never get heard. But at least as an individual soul experience, I know I did my job.
Right.
And, I don't have nothing really much else to say on that. I love the show because I've really never been on another show to where I've got this emotional.
Aww.
And it's great being on.
And we're getting really great response. I'm getting messages and everything. It's just how amazing they think that, this topic and the story is. So, I love that. I love my listeners because, I have very loyal listeners. And even though all of my shows are, kind of different subjects that I talk about, they go to all of them. And it's amazing. I got some of the top, rated, shows in the network, and they are so amazing that they are just so accepting, and it's like they learn stuff from, every show that we get. We get people who interact, in the chat and, are getting questions and answers, and I love that because this is what it's supposed to be about. And I do find that, a lot of people who are, who are light workers, we become, targets for sure because, the last thing that, people want out there and negativity wants is for people spreading the truth and, and love and, positivity. And, many people know, people try to trash me, accuse me of things, anything that they can do to try to run me out of it.
Anything they can do. Yes. Star Sister, let me tell you something. You're amazing. You're right.
Oh, well, thank you. My thing is like I tell people, when they say, right away, because, I have become so well known and my shows have become so well known, right away.
And well deserved.
Well, thank you. But when they see that,
Absolutely.
They're upset with me, the first thing that they threaten me with is, we'll make something up and we'll ruin your reputation and your career. The thing is I don't do this for money. Right, I don't do this for money, so what are you going to do?
But you can.
People...
I love this woman. I literally love this woman. You're amazing.
Oh, you're making me blush now. Thank you. You're way too kind.
I want everyone to listen to this. And see, this is the thing. You can't discredit us because the work speaks for itself, hon. Okay? Your work speaks for itself. Your lectures speak for themselves. You not taking money speaks for yourself. Like me, okay? People said, I'll discredit him. I'll say this. I'll say that. Listen, I was in the midst of the Occupy movement, kicked with horses, thrown around by police. I've fought with Monsanto. I've fought only one next to chemtrails, vaccines. I've literally bled with the humanity. How can you discredit anybody? How can you discredit us? You can't, because we don't accept money. We fought for the people. We've been there for the people. So people are going to say, okay, well, Paul's crazy, or okay, Christina's this. Christina, I seen her with this girl last night at the bar, and she took her home, or she took this guy home. And you know what? Guess what? Until you can go ahead and put your money where your mouth is and do a better job than we do, which is basically service to others, and shut your mouth. And it's that simple. Because anybody who has something to say, you can't back it up with positivity and love vibration, keep your mouth shut, because you're a part of the problem. That's simple,
and that's
hon,
what
and I
happens a
commend
lot
you.
in this. Well, that's what happens a lot in this field is, it's like, like a soap opera, and people just thrive off of drama. And, it's like I always see people say, I don't believe crap that's like in the Inquirer or, the Sun magazine and stuff, But when they're in the grocery store aisle and it says, kid, kidnapped by an alien and it lives with them or something, you see them go and buy it. you know, it's just because they love the drama. And, you know, I've been accused of murdering people, and every single time somebody gets mad at me, they say that, you know, the police are looking for me and I'm on the run. And I'm like, if you don't know anything about anything, you know that if the police are looking for you nowadays, it's not hard to find you. And as public as I am, and I'm like,
I'll tell you what. Not to cut you off, and I'll let you get right on this, but if the cops are looking for you, I'm an activist, okay? The federal government is probably listening to this right now. So if the cops are looking for you, I'm sure they'll have you soon after this. Because if anyone's anti-government and anti-tyranny, it's me. So I'm sure they're on this air. So I mean,
I'm right there with you.
If you don't get locked up in the next week, if you don't get locked up next week, I'm sure the naysayers will have nothing to say. Go ahead.
Well, you know, it's like it doesn't even matter. Because the people who know me, like, you know, my following and my backing is strong, and that, you know, they remind me every day. And even, you know, I'm human, and, you know, I am a very, very strong empath. And so a lot of times, you know, the hate that comes from people that don't even know me or know the situation and have no clue that, you know, people who have personal agendas will bind together.
Or say they know you.
Or right. They'll bind together and try to do whatever they can to hurt you. But once again, like I tell people, I'll tell them, what, you know, I don't get paid for anything I do. My radio network is absolutely amazing, and they love me, and I'm one of the top-rated, you know, shows on their network. The people that I do conferences for, I've been doing it for years, and they wouldn't care what anybody said. That was one of the back end I got. We're not, you know, getting rid of you anywhere, you know. And so, you know, I'm like, how the hell are you gonna ruin me? Because I don't do this for fame and fortune, and I don't get any money. So it's like, even if, as long as there is one person in this world that wants to listen to what I have to say, I would have a free YouTube video channel, and I would be doing it that way. Like, people cannot shut me up. They try, but it's not going to shut me up. I'm also not, you know, I'm probably one of the most loving people. I will do anything for anyone, which is one of my downfalls, because, you know, the same people I help are the ones that turn around and get jealous and want to, you know, stab me in the back. But I send them love when they do this to me, because, you know what, they're actually helping me.
So
they're showing me the people that...
It's actually what you're here to do.
Yeah, you know, this is so much above what they can even comprehend and understand. So this has nothing to do with, you know, becoming what I think somebody wanted to call me a paraceleb or something like that. I'm so far from that. I have, you know, turned down shows.
So what?
Well,
Christina,
I'm against all that. You know, it's not even about that. There's a very personal journey that I am on. Right. And, you know, this is my life journey.
Even if you are, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Well,
because,
I am who I am.
Sweetheart. Right. And you've worked so hard to get where you're at. And the only people that would criticize you or try to discredit you for being this celeb or whatever, listen, you've been doing this for a while, and you've been doing lectures, like you say, and doing this and doing that. You've earned the right to be well known. You've fought through the punches. You've went through the fire of the naysayers and the people who throw things in your face and laugh at you and call you crazy. And you've been schooled through your childhood and through your pain and your upbringing to be who you are right now. And you know what? If that's, it's kind of like saying if you're a professional boxer, okay? You train, you box, and you're the champion. You're the best. You're the best at what you do. And rightfully so. The only people who have a problem with you being where you're at right now, on top of your game, let's just say it. You're on top of your game. It's that simple. And it's rightfully so. If you think Christina, that are listening right now, shouldn't be on the top of her game, then do it better. Then bring more love vibration than she is. And wake up more people than she is. Because I'm sure that Christina's not doing this, like she says, for the fame, for the fortune, for all that. And if she just so happens to be on top of the totem pole, that's because she's actually getting out there doing it. And she's also... You're telling people to empower themselves to do better, because that's what I do. If you think you can do it better, then do it.
and thank you for all the kind words. I mean, that means a lot. It really does. I mean, people don't
I get it all the time. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, you get it. Yeah, you do get it. And a lot of people do. As I said, I've had people who have been following me, and I don't look at people as fans, or I look at them as my friends.
Oh my God, neither do I.
Because I'm not famous. I'm not anybody, some celebrity or anything. I'm somebody who has information to share, and it's not for everybody. I'm not here to, prove anything to anyone. That's not my journey. It's not, to make people believe me. There are people that I am supposed to be helping, and those people are always brought to me or brought my way and connected one way or another. Those who
exactly.
I need to focus on. Not all the haters, because there'll be 1,000, other haters out there. But I'm also, even as loving and caring as I am, I also do not let people walk, all over me. Period. I stand up for what I believe in. I stand up what's right. I have the truth that stands behind me. And, it's, once again, people like drama, and whether it's good, positive attention or negative attention. Some people just need attention, and it's very easy to sway people nowadays, because just as if I was to go out on my social media and I started saying, hey, everybody.
I'm starting to read you, by the way. Go ahead.
Okay, well, be interested. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So, I'll go out there. If I was to go out there and say, hey, everybody, guess what? This person is really, giving me a hard time. I want everybody to go out and do what you can to get rid of them for me. I would assure you that there would be people who wanted to do that. But you know what? That is so not me. But what people have to understand is that words are powerful. And things that you say, I've gotten death threats because of, things that people, lies and rumors that people have spread. Stuff like that, But the one thing that I always remember about all this is that if what I was saying and doing was not significant, nobody would be paying attention. So, the ones that they worry about are the ones they want to shut up for whatever reason they don't want the information out. And, I have to stay focused no matter what goes on, of what I'm here for, and not to get distracted, because there are so many distractions in the world to try to pull you away. But I do think that every single thing that I have gone through in my life, and each one has been harder than the next, but it only prepares me for what I was going to encounter now and in the future. And I do believe that we are getting ready to come to a head of a full-out battle between good and evil.
Talk about it.
And
Come on. I already know what you're going to say, so go ahead.
Right.
Dude, I'm reading you right now. Literally, I've been reading you for the past 5 minutes, so I already know what you're going to say, so go ahead. Say it.
So we're getting ready, and there are many of us that are very enlightened and understand where all this is going.
What are we getting ready for?
Well, we're getting ready for whatever you want to call it. Some people will call it, revelation. Mm-hmm. Some people will call it, I've heard it called all different things. But it is going to be our all-out, battle.
People want to hear. What do you call it? Christina, what do you call it?
I don't even know.
What do you see happening?
Oh, I see just complete chaos. I see complete chaos, on a big level where we're going to be bombarded with all different kinds of things to keep us distracted, keep us scared, all of these different things.
Keep us on a low vibrational frequency.
Absolutely. So it's more important than any time right now for us to stay focused, continue to go out, and no matter what kind of adversity we, encounter, we got to keep spreading this information. And until I take my last breath, this is what I'll do. Not only do I do the paranormal, just like this, but, I'm very big about Monsanto, about, all the GMO products, the RFID chips, military.
Oh, God. Should we even get into that? Oh, my God. What have I done?
I do, 9/11, Sandy Hook.
Like, I love this girl already. Like, she's amazing. When I was on Facebook with you, I thought you were like a snob. I'm not going to lie. I was like, wow, she seems really snobby. And she's amazing.
Well,
how can anyone even hate on you? I have no idea.
It's so funny that, when you and I, first connected on Facebook and, you started telling me your story, and I was like, I told Paul, oh, my gosh, I'm so interested in your story, let's get you booked on my show. And at the time, I had this
let's not get too detailed with the Facebook conversation.
No. We had, I had an assistant, and that was when I was going through some health issues and everything, and she ended up, going. And a lot of people who I had, contacted and wanted her to book didn't happen. And, so people, and a lot of times I get this, like, people will say, oh, my gosh, you haven't responded to me, you're a bitch or whatever. And they don't understand that I sometimes can get up to, like, last week I got 500 messages when I logged in from being off from a week.
Are you
private
kidding
messages
me?
on Facebook.
500?
No.
Well, here's the thing. I wasn't kind of thought you were snobby because you didn't have me on the show, because I've been on way too many shows.
I'm just saying
actually,
in general.
I actually don't like being on the shows at this point. But I'll tell you, it's just a blessing. You tell your producers, thank you all for having me on. You've got one of the best dedicated truthers and activists, egotistically free, on the East Coast, with one of the best paranormal networks right now. And this is magic. This is universal magic that's happening right now. And it's meant to be, because this is meant to be.
Absolutely.
It's that
and that's exactly what I said.
All you haters who want to come at her, youtube.com/Princetruthchaser. Okay? youtube.com/Princetruthchaser. I dare you to come at me. Because until you come at anybody with love, right, with hate, you need to come and look in the mirror and look in your eyes, because this is where the magic starts also. Look in the mirror, look in your eyes, and ask myself, what am I doing?
Great. Oh, I love that.
Half the people who are hating on you, what are they doing? They're sitting home eating donuts, doing nothing on their computer. Jealous of you because you're out doing lectures, because you're out. This woman is terminally ill. And she's doing this for free. It's amazing. Oh, my God. This is just like, wow, dude. It's amazing what you're doing. And that's the thing, because that's love. That's pure love. You're pure love. Let me tell you, it's that simple. What you're doing is amazing. And, people who are harassing you and who are trying to get in your mind, they're doing nothing with their lives.
Well, thank you.
It's that simple.
And I also want to say thank you to the people in chat. Because I got, Rick, Christopher, I got a bunch of people in chat who as well are, telling me the same things, and Dan and all of you. Thank you. I mean, as I said, this is not about me. I mean, people, I'm probably one of the most dedicated and down-to-earth people you will know if you get to know me. I don't put up with a bunch of BS. I don't get involved in a bunch of drama. I don't, choose sides for us people, and it's so beyond what that's not even what I'm supposed to focus on. But, I'm this dedicated that I've been in the hospital. I've literally been in the hospital or been in the ER, and, it's time for my show to come, and I make them, or a client calls and needs something, or when people I'm mentoring, something happens, and I make them, wheel me to a place where I can actually get, a signal so that I can call them, and they're like, you're about to go through surgery, or you got this going on, and I'm like, this is important, I think about, people more than I think about myself, and a lot of people.
And this is done donation free.
No.
Oh my God, it's amazing. But what I want to do is, if you don't mind, I really want to hit back on the topics of the alien agenda, if you will, and
yes,
kind of give the viewers, because we're really kind of getting into the whole, everyone's haters, but, hate on haters, that's fine, and we'll keep changing the world,
That's right.
So anyway,
right.
but
that's right.
So
spin the wheels and we'll keep going forward.
Now to the alien agenda, and what we have now is we have all these people who see ghosts, all these people who see these different dimensional beings, and I think that we have to ask ourselves the hard, solid question is, okay, well, if these ghosts that people see, some who are gifted see them, some don't see them. These people that are seeing these aliens, some see them, some don't see them. Why is that? I mean, do they operate off of different dimensions? I think they do. I think that when we pass on, I seriously think that when we pass on, when we're stuck in with Christians, quote unquote, called purgatory, okay, or what's that? When you're stuck earthbound, that's the word I really want to use. Earthbound. When we're stuck earthbound, that's where what happens is that you're stuck in the astral plane, to where you're basically, and you can interact with these different dimensional beings and come in and out. Because I think truly when we die and we're happy and we're humble and we're at peace with who we are and we don't hate on people and stuff like that.
Absolutely. All that goes away. Once you cross over, all that goes away. But if you are, stuck in between, you still have all that. So, like, if you were a shitty, horrible person in, life, then, in death, and you're stuck there, you're still the same person, which is why we get a lot of misinterpretation of, people thinking everything's demonic, because if something, scratches you or whatever, it's got to be demonic. If, something, this happens, or it's a growl, it's something demonic, and that's not the case. Shadow figures are not all demonic,
Right. Right.
Absolutely. So it's the interpretation, and once again, I have such a problem with like TV shows, because people cannot understand that these are for entertainment.
The shadow stuff.
Right. And we get over there, and it's like people use these shows for like self-training, and it's like I hear it over and over. Clients will say, "Oh my gosh, get here quick! I've got a demon in my house." And I'm like, "Well, why do you think that?" And they'll say, "Well, the lights are flickering, and something fell off the shelf the other night." And I'm like, "Okay, but why do you think it's demonic?" "Well, I saw this show the other night on TV, and this happened, and it was demonic." And I'm like, "Okay, here we go again." And I always love it when I go in and it's actually like a family member or things. And one of the interesting things that I like was the fact that because I can see them, the spirits, I felt like, okay, well, the researcher side of me is like, okay, well, if I can see and communicate with them, I need to be asking some questions. I need to find out what's going on and why they're stuck and things like that. And I've been able to find out a lot. And, like committing suicide, dying a tragic, quick death where, they might not realize they've passed on. Some are because they have unfinished business. Even us here, the people who are left behind, when we are grieving to such an extreme extent, them here sometimes, because they don't want to leave us until we're okay. But once we cross over all of the worries that we have now and all of the resentment or, if you hated people or whatever, all of that is gone. My near-death experience is the one thing that always, just blew me away, because I had 4 children at the time, and they were my world, and I could never even think of leaving children without their mother. And when I was there, and having the near-death experience, the one thing that I always remembered is it felt amazing. I just felt so good, so much love. I didn't have a care in the world, and I didn't even think about my children when I said I don't want to go back.
Right.
None of the stuff that we think is important over there. And when people cross over, and we're left behind, we, give ourselves guilt trips about, oh, I wasn't there when they took their last breath, or, I told that person I couldn't stand them, and then they died, and I didn't get a chance to say I'm sorry, and all these things. They don't care about all that. They don't hold on to that. It doesn't make any difference to them. They're like, what in the hell are you worried about this for? Like, I'm not mad at you. And so people need to remember all these these things. Like, this is just a vessel we live in. It is not, it is not our being, our soul, it's just a vessel for it. But, when you're talking about the alien agenda, I'm having a show on Wednesday because here in Northern California, all the way up through Southern California, on New Year's, there were multiple sightings of UFOs, and a few people we know got them on video, and I definitely feel that something major with UFOs is going to happen very, very soon. My only thing is that I don't feel that it's actually going to be of alien races. I really feel that it's going to be our own government who's, reconstructed everything, back engineered stuff. And what is your feelings on that?
Now, see, I just want to point out, now here's a girl who's all about low vibration and all about the paranormal, speaking the truth. I don't even know how you figured that out. But, yeah, absolutely. I feel that our government has already captured a couple aliens and has reverse engineered the craft. I think a lot of the UFOs that we're seeing now is human flown, but when you look at the minds of the normal person who just sit around and eats Pop-Tarts and watches Dance with the Stars every day, they're like, oh my God, it's a UFO. Like these UFO hunters, honestly, I don't get into the whole UFO crowd. I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever. Half of it's human flown, all right? I'm more of a interdimensional being. Give me right to the meat and gravy, all right? I want the reptilians. I want the Pleiadians. I want the Andromedons. I want the beings that's what I want to get into. And I think that the government is already, there's different bases, underground bases, that there's a couple alien bases, there's a couple human bases. And the aliens don't want, they don't want, well, no, because people are crazy. People will be like, oh my God, there's aliens, ah! If we look at Pope Francis, Pope Francis already admitted there's no such thing as hell. This is a pope, people. There's no such thing as hell. He said that he accepts all religions, that we're all love vibrations, something me and Christina have been saying for a long time. But you religious holy rollers, and yes, I said it, you religious holy rollers who want to beautiful Bibles and crucified all my ancestors, apparently we're wrong. Pope Francis is saying that love is key, that hell doesn't exist. So there you go. It's a shame it took till 2014 to figure this out. But, hey, look, I'm on a roll. So, but anyways, I feel that, UFOs are mostly human run. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of UFOs, and it's going to be human done. And that's not saying that other dimensional beings aren't going to present themselves, because you can't just say, okay, well, here's UFOs hovering over the cities and the countryside. But, what they're going to have, I hope to the Creator, Goddess, God, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
I believe in the Creator. That's the Creator of the universe, the one. Male, female, I don't care. I believe that. I hope that it's good when it comes down. But looking at the way we're being poisoned each and every way, looking at the way Mother Earth is being raped, and if you look at the Navy, they're doing sonar tests in the ocean to actually find mermaids, which do exist, and they're killing off thousands of dolphins and whales. We're not even, because the mermaids actually, they follow the whales, because the whales actually help them and keep them away from the sharks and stuff. That's a whole different subject. So the Navy's playing God in the water. They're killing off our whales and water, and plus Fukushima reactor. So the way I see things, if there is first contact, it's going to be negative. It's not that I think negative. I think that the good high vibrational beings that want to come here and help can't come here and help. Because we as society, as humanity, have to raise our consciousness and our vibrations to a point to where that will enable them to interact in our dimension and come in our reality and our frequency and help us. But because there's such thing as video games that are violent, movies that are violent, TV that brainwashes us, food that dumbs us down. The list goes on and on. They're keeping us in this prison planet mentality that what we're going to see is we're going to see a bunch of beings who are negative that are going to say, hey, we're here, and, you know, we're here to help you. And, you know, that's what we're going to get. Until we understand that self-empowerment and love vibration is key, we are going to get it right up the keister, and we're going to continue to get that until we raise our consciousness, until we raise our vibration. And that's not saying that everyone isn't going to be, you know, ascended. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you know, a lot of people who don't know about the different dimensions, who don't know about positive aliens, who don't know about positive paranormal and psychic ability, a lot of people who don't, you know, when they wake up, they go to work at Wawa and they come home and to their unsatisfied mate and they sit around and bitch and moan about what's on TV. These type of people are going to be stuck in the muck and stuck on this third dimensional reality. Now, people that basically have an idea of what's going on and are positive, when we pass on, we're going to have an option to ascend and live this life, or really, it's a universal game, or we can come back and do it again. I told you guys, I'm completely insane. I've said it on another radio show. I'm completely insane. Go ahead, say I'm crazy. I don't care. Because I'm insane for humanity. I'm insane for humanity. And can we Christina, before you start, real quick, can we individually ascend? Absolutely. Can we save the world? Absolutely not. What we can do is we can consciously and bring as many people up as we can. It can be 10 people, can be 1,000 people. But guess what? Can we save the world? No. Out of the question.
But you know, something that's very interesting. I like to get we only have about 10 minutes left, but I want to talk about this. You know, I tell people a lot of times, you know, like, really, people, if you think that, you know, they were going to come down and attack, they could have done it at any point. Like, they didn't have to, you know, wait until right now. You know, it's like they're so technologically advanced than we are that, you know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. But have you heard anything about all of the disappearances that have been happening, you know, like in...
Wow, let me jump in this real quick. Quick, and let me hit this off real quick because we don't have time. I already know where you're going. Yes, if you look at the FBI files, there's tens of thousands of missing people and missing children that just go unmysteriously missing. These people are being stuck in underground bases, are being systematically done with, okay? These people are being disappeared again. And I don't care what people think about me, hon. Tell you the truth. Through abductions and through people just literally disappearing, mysteriously kidnapped. They're being used for, as Phil Schneider said, look up youtube.com/Phil Schneider, part 407. This man was killed. He was a naval officer, I think, and he actually dug in the underground bases. But the people are, these kids, they're being killed. What they do is they torture us to the point to where they install such a fear in us to where they torture us, literally torture us. And right before we're ready to die, they take that energy and they look us in the eyes. And they take our energy. Look up any African tribe, and they all know that about the underground bases and what's going on. People are being disappeared because they're being either systematically done away with in underground bases, negatively, or they're being done away with. It's both negative, but experimented on. It's that simple. And this isn't me being negative. See, a lot of the ET crowd are going to say you're negative. Listen. You look up, do your own homework. Look up the missing person files in your state, in your county. Look it up. How many people are missing within the last year? Okay, and then look up how many people have been found. Don't take what I say and believe what I say. Call me crazy. I want you to call me crazy. That's fine. Look it up, and you're going to see that there's a lot more missing children and missing people. You see it on Facebook, right? You see, this person's missing, that person's missing. Where'd they go? These people weren't on drugs. They're not drug addicts. They're not alcoholics. They're not crazies. Would they just disappear? No. They've been systematically taken to these bases on the ground. There's a very dark occult that runs this world right now, and I want everyone to hear this real quick. They are controlling our food or air or water. They're trying to kill Mother Earth. They're trying to poison our children's minds. And they're trying to do everything they can to keep us in a low vibrational state of consciousness. They don't want us low vibration. It's our job to get off our couch and say, you know what, enough is enough. 100% non-compliance. If there is a revolution, it has to be nonviolent, because if it's violent, we're just recycling negative energy with negative energy. And even if a new regime or new establishment comes into play, it's a negative one because it didn't come through low vibration. Everything's going to hell on this planet. It really has. Everything.
Oh, yeah.
And the only way to stop it, is through love. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know where these kids are going. Bring awareness to it. Bring awareness to where these men, women, and children are getting drug out in these underground bases. But you have these people that come on your show, these UFOologists and all that, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that, right? They don't want to talk about the hybrid race that has been people who've been abducted have said multiple times they're going to recycle us. They're going to come down, and that's that. No one wants to talk about that, because if you talk about that, you don't get that donation money, you scumbags. That's why you don't want to talk about that.
Well,
that's why you don't want to bring it up.
That's for sure.
That's right. And hey, listen, I love saying that because I've been wanting to say it for a long time. You're parasites, and you're a part of the problem. That's why you don't talk about that. And guess what? That's why I make it my job to talk about it, because we need to, because we're all in this together. All I have to say is, I'll ascend. I know where I'm going to go when I die. I know where my soul is going to go when I die. Do you know where yours is going to go? You who are sitting on your computer right now on the chat line, you're going to have the guts to come on here and talk to us? Why not? And those of you who didn't come on just because maybe you're just shy, I encourage you to the next show to come on and speak. Just say what you have to say, because it can make a difference. You can reach people. Because if there's thousands of people listening to this, get off the chat and come on with Christina, because I might not be on again. So if I'm not on, come on and say it. You know what's going on.
You know, and the thing is that, that's, once again, that's what I love about, my following, is that, they are right on point with, what we're talking about. These are the things that,
Okay.
I bring up on my shows. I bring up the fact that, that people are being taken, and they're being taken to these underground bases. We have had on people who have been part of, these hybrid programs that, the military has put them in. We have talked about, truth seekers. All these things, we talk about. And, that's what I said. That's why I love about them, because everybody is like, yes, they love the fact that, I bring this kind of stuff. I don't just bring to somebody to just go out like what everybody else does. I want my show to be different, and that's what I strive for. That's what I bring, and obviously I've got a following that, they're right on point with what we're talking about. So, well, we've got about 2 minutes, so I want to give you a chance to get out your YouTube channels and whatever other ways you want them to contact you, and I will also put your links out on the Paranormal Connections page as well.
Yep, the thing just said 90 seconds. Before I give anyone my link, just honestly, guys, look, really understand that resistance is necessary, but love is key. Empower yourselves. Because we're at the rat race, and we're at the end. This is it, okay? This radio show right here, you got one of the realest people on this show right now that you will ever hear. Like I said, I'm a one-it man. I'm out here doing what I do for humanity and the federal government. I'm against Monsanto and the Fed. I do all that. Reach me at youtube.com/Princetruthchaser, Facebook, Paul Wesley, www.Princetruthchaser.com. It's time to make a change. Because guess what? People like me and people like Christina, we're wanted. We're marked because we know too much. But it's people like you guys that have to get up and take what you've learned and empower yourselves. This is how we all won, and this is how we all change the world. It doesn't happen from listening to us. Because when they come for us, they're going to come for you.
Yep.
So you can sit and do what you want. But I love you. Thank you for having me on the show. And if you want to chat off air, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
I really don't have anything else
I've
to
got
say.
a meeting for a few minutes, and then I'd absolutely love to talk to you. And thank you so much for coming on. I mean, this has been an amazing, amazing interview. I'd love to have you back on again. I do a lot of roundtable discussions where, you know, I bring all different views, and so we can kind of debate this kind of stuff in a very positive way. So I think we'll do that. But thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week. Good night.